Hey YouTube gun people, I like to do a little bit of a YouTube gun community reality check. Dun da da da! This is a Smith & Wesson 1911. There's no magazine in it. We'll rack it back. I know it's clear already because I don't. But pick up a gun, check it to make sure it's clear. If somebody hands you a loaded gun and you're not aware that it was loaded, feel free to smack them. Bad etiquette. So this will be a YouTube gun community reality check video where I'm going to talk about the issue of reliability. I find it really entertaining to watch. Yes, and you can take down a 1911 without taking apart the by removing the slide first. It's not really a big issue, in spite of what everybody will have you believe. Right. I see a lot of people get really worked up about the issue of reliability on a 1911, and yeah, or any gun, not just 1911s, any gun. And I'm here today to tell you something that is an absolute truth about gun reliability. And we'll speak directly to some of the misconceptions that are portrayed. And of course, I'm going to make the most of my time and do this while I clean this Smith & Wesson. So, the fact of the matter is, in reality, no matter how much we'd like to believe it's not true, because of, if you're interested in using a firearm for self-defense, you'd rather not have to deal with the issue of reliability. All guns, at one point or another, if you shoot them enough, are going to jam. Right? And it's particularly, I think, in situations where you're under some stress, where you might not have the best grip in the world on the firearm, in situations where you're rapid firing, in situations where you're not standing at a static target 25 yards or whatever, how many feet away, it's likely that at some point in that gun's life you're going to witness that it has experienced a bit of a brain fart. In other words, it failed to feed, it failed to eject, it stovepiped, it farted and made a mess in its underwear, whatever. It's going to happen. I think the idea that it's not going to happen or can never happen is bullshit. And the real way to think about it is to practice failure drills. What do you do when the gun fails? How many times do you see a gun malfunction at like a range? Jam, just a simple jam. Just no big deal. Then you get 50 guys standing around it discussing what happened. For me, I really prescribe to the school of thought that I don't really care what happened as long, Now, I'm not talking about an obvious mechanical problem. So you look inside the gun and the extractor snapped off of it, or the ejector's broken, or something like that. I'm talking it just jammed. There's no obvious mechanical difficulty. The gun's well maintained and lubed. It just jammed. What do you do? I think what you do is you tap it, rack it. If that doesn't work, you drop the magazine out of it, insert a new magazine, bring the slide forward, and hammer it back, if it's a 1911 for instance, and start shooting again. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. You know, people get on YouTube and talk about talk about their experience with reliability, and you know, I respect what they have to say in the context that they're looking at it. You know, they shot a very limited number of rounds through the gun, and it was reliable. Most of the time, they're not shooting from weird positions. You know, they're not shooting around cover where the firearm might not be perfectly up and down. And you know, those things all make a difference. It's just the physics of how that round will get ejected. They're not firing necessarily one-handed. What happens if you have to fire off-handed and you're going to, for instance, have a bit of a weaker grip, where you could get this phenomenon of limp wristing, rearing its ugly head, which will make you, could make you suffer, for instance, depending on the pistol you're shooting, a failure. These are all possibilities. My point is that these are nothing more than pieces of steel and plastic fitted together within a certain set of tolerances. Physics, being what it is, will eventually could eventually work, its way against you. Remember, we have the universe perpetually trying to go towards randomness, right? Entropy, and I think that happens in the firearms world, folks. So your trusty 1911 at one point might decide it wants to go to randomness and completely jam up on you. And what's important is not an ego issue of, is my gun's 100% reliable, so it's therefore a better gun than your gun. No, I think what's important is that when that inevitably happens, you know how to deal with it. So you practice it, you understand it. The easiest way to practice it is get yourself some snap caps. Take a magazine, randomly load it up, throw a snap cap in there, and get a failure. That's one way to do it. It doesn't represent the only type of failure, but you could do that to make yourself a little bit more proficient with what to do when you get an unexpected failure or stoppage. Gun community reality. That's a harsh and bitter reality. All firearms will exhibit problems at one point or another. It's up to you to know how to fix those problems while shooting. The vast majority of the time, it's going to be not a big deal. The vast majority of the time is you're not going to even be able to explain what happened. You just know that that round went in the chamber, you pulled the trigger, it didn't go boom. That round didn't get stripped off the magazine, is now jammed up against the feed ramp. That firearm is sticking straight up. It's a stovepipe. You don't know what happened. It failed to eject or extract. Most of the time you're not going to even know what happened. If it's a recurrent issue, yeah, bring it to a gunsmith. If it happens once in a blue moon and you're shooting the cheapest ammo you could buy or crappy reloads, I think it could be an ammo problem. Could be a magazine problem. I think in terms of relative issues, I think most of your issues, especially with the semi-autos, are going to be with the magazine, not so much with these parts. Keep that in mind when you're thinking about gun stoppages and reliability issues. And also keep in mind that you got to take, including what I say, with a grain of salt, because people do all kinds of wacky shit to their firearms, and seriously, you just never know what exactly they have done, And so they might be reporting that this particular firearm's fucked up, but it's not. They did something. They did home gunsmithing on it, and they completely screwed it up or didn't put it back together appropriately. All right, so I got. I'm gonna clean this baby up and get her ready for another day.